When the heavy engines of war began to rumble across Europe in the late 1930s, there was one machine that carried the quiet authority of strength and endurance. It was not a tank, not a gun, but a truck, the Hanomag SS-100. Built in 1936 by Hannoversche Maschinenbau AG in Germany, it was a masterpiece of raw industrial engineering, a symbol of a nation preparing for an era that would demand power, precision, and relentless reliability. The Hanomag SS-100 was originally conceived as a heavy road tractor for civilian industry. It was meant to haul massive trailers, machinery, and construction materials. But when war came, its exceptional towing capacity and simple yet unbreakable construction made it indispensable to the German army. Soon, it became one of the most widely recognized heavy tractors of the Wehrmacht, often seen pulling aircraft, artillery, and in later years, even the mobile launcher of the infamous V-2 rocket. Its heart was a 6-cylinder diesel engine with a displacement of about 8,553 cubic centimeters, roughly 8.6 liters, equivalent to about 523 cubic inches. The engine produced approximately 100 horsepower and, more importantly, around 470 newton meters of torque, about 340 pound-feet. It was not designed for speed. It was designed for unstoppable pulling power. The kind of force that could move 20 tons of weight through deep mud, snow, or the endless dust of wartime supply routes. The engine was connected to a multi-speed manual transmission with heavy reduction gearing. It allowed the driver to choose between smooth road transport or slow, controlled crawling while towing massive trailers. With this gearbox, the SS-100 could climb steep grades at walking speed without losing traction. The rear-wheel drive system, supported by strong live axles and semi-elliptic leaf springs, gave it a steady and stable ride even under brutal conditions. Every part of the SS-100 was overbuilt. The ladder-type frame was constructed from massive U-section beams. The axles were forged to bear enormous stress. Even the clutch was oversized to handle the brutal torque that the diesel produced at low revolutions. Nothing on this machine was light or decorative. It was made purely for endurance and strength. Its weight, depending on configuration, was between 6 and 7 tons when empty. Fully loaded with fuel, crew, and towing gear, the total mass could exceed 20 tons with a heavy trailer attached. Its length reached nearly 7 meters, its height about 2.5 meters, and its wide, sturdy stance made it incredibly stable on rough terrain. When the driver turned the ignition, the diesel roared to life with a deep, metallic pulse. The cabin trembled slightly, the exhaust belched a dark breath of smoke, and the whole vehicle came alive like a steel animal waking from sleep. Inside, the controls were mechanical and heavy. Every lever, every pedal demanded strength and precision. Driving a Hanomag SS-100 was not an easy task. It was an act of endurance and focus. During the Second World War, the SS-100 became a workhorse for the Luftwaffe, towing heavy aircraft like the Junkers Ju-88 or the Messerschmitt Bf-110 across airfields. In photos from the Eastern Front, you can see these machines lined up on muddy runways, their drivers covered in oil and frost, guiding them through the bitter wind. The diesel engines growled as they hauled aircraft into position for takeoff or back to repair hangars. In that frozen silence, the Hanomag's exhaust echoed like a heartbeat of steel. But perhaps its most famous role came later, when it was assigned to tow the Meillerwagen, the specialized transport and launch trailer for the V-2 ballistic rocket. Each convoy carrying a V-2 consisted of several SS-100 tractors, fuel tankers, and service vehicles. They moved slowly, at night, through forests and bomb-scarred roads, hauling their deadly cargo to hidden launch sites. Without the Hanomag SS-100, the world's first ballistic missile program would have been logistically impossible. The SS-100's simplicity was one of its greatest strengths. Its parts were accessible, easy to maintain, and interchangeable with other Hanomag heavy vehicles. Field mechanics could rebuild major components with basic tools. During campaigns, it was common to see crews repairing engines in open fields, replacing clutches or axles, using improvised parts just to keep the convoys moving. The machine's design respected the logic of the mechanic. solid, straightforward, dependable. Its maximum speed on paved roads was modest, around 50 kilometers per hour, roughly 31 miles per hour, but that hardly mattered. This was not a vehicle for racing. It was a vehicle for survival. What mattered was that it could tow 20 tons of cargo across a broken bridge, or pull an aircraft out of the mud without stalling. Its massive tires bit deep into the earth, its gearbox howled in low gear, and its exhaust note turned into a long, steady growl that could be heard for hundreds of meters. The SS-100 was not only powerful, it was adaptable. Variants were produced with 2 or 3 axles, with short or long cabs, and with various body configurations, from towing tractors to recovery units. Some were even fitted with gasifiers later in the war, allowing them to run on wood gas when diesel became scarce. Despite these changes, the soul of the machine remained the same: simple, reliable, indestructible. After the war, many surviving SS-100s were captured and repurposed. Some found work on construction sites, towing cranes or carrying heavy loads during Europe's reconstruction. Others ended up in museums, lovingly restored by collectors who understood their historical importance. Today, a handful of these giants still exist, their diesel hearts beating once again at shows and reenactments, living relics of a vanished age of mechanical strength. Standing next to a Hanomag SS-100 today is a humbling experience. You can smell the oil and the metal, feel the roughness of the steel cab, and imagine the vibration of the engine through the floor. Every dent and scar tells a story of convoys under bombardment, of frozen nights by the front lines, of the men who drove them through exhaustion and danger. These trucks did not fire weapons, but they carried the war on their backs. The Hanomag SS-100 was more than a vehicle. It was a tool of movement, a machine that kept the machinery of war turning. It represents the quiet, packed, relentless power of engineering, the kind of power that never makes headlines, but wins battles through endurance and discipline. Its legacy survives not only in museums, but in the lessons it taught engineers and historians alike. It showed that true strength lies not in speed or glamour, but in the capacity to endure, to carry, to keep moving when everything else has stopped. So, the next time you hear the deep, rhythmic growl of an old diesel engine, remember the Hanomag SS-100, the steel workhorse of an era defined by movement, struggle, and the unyielding will to push forward. If you want to hear more stories about the machines that changed the world, from forgotten giants like the Hanomag SS-100 to the legendary icons of war and peace, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Every week, we bring history to life. One engine, one story, one roar at a time.